Now, I may call upon Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri to share his words of wisdom with us in this evening.
Thank you, Chulani, for the description larger than life and also for reading it twice. Aibowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum. A very good evening to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to be with you despite the pandemic challenges, despite the turbulent times that we are going through. We have got together to learn something meaningfully, to do something refreshingly different. So, whilst thanking Sleetad for inviting me, let me start sharing my sites. Perhaps more than the PowerPoint slides, I would prepare some powerful points for us to ponder, for us to deliberate, for us to insightfully apply. That's my humble attempt within next 40 minutes or so. After that, we would entertain your valued questions. So permit me till I open my screen and share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
right. Thank you. So the topic, as you have already heard, is all about learning in the new normal, promising prospects. So PIM has been my second home for the past 20 years. Price had been my summer home. CMI, CIPM have been my professional home. So I am the current vice president of CMI Sri Lanka chapter and council member of CIPM. But how can I forget Sleetad? I still remember my vivid memories. I was first introduced to Sleetad by my teacher, Dr. Travis Pereira, while I was doing my MBA at PIM. So thereafter, I was a close associate with Sleetad Development. And this is one picture I captured from your website, 2010, a certificate awarding ceremony or a convocation where I was involved. I must confess that during the past few years, my interaction has been rather low. But with my contribution to your pioneering journal, biannual journal, and also to this, I hope to resume and to resurrect my relationships with Sleetad and to do some meaningful work together for the betterment of humanity and betterment of the deserving Sri Lankan community. So the road ahead, I would attempt to raise three questions and then to answer them perhaps collectively, interactively together. So question number one, why right learning is essential in moving from resilience to results? Right learning for resilience to results. We need to have a clear answer for that. Second question, what are the features required in learning during pandemic time, the new normal as we always refer to? So what are the features that we need to keep in mind? And for me, number three is very pertinent. What should we do differently in enhancing the way we learn? Things that we need to change, things that we need to solidify, things that we need to improve. So what are those things? So what are the key takeaways from today's session? So let me start my deliberations focusing on these three questions sequentially as well as interchangeably. So the new normal, we often use this term. It has become part of our jargon, new normal. Perhaps the face mask that we wear, the kids might think that face is a very, very sacred organ in our body to cover, say like some other vital parts of the body. So in future, that will be the understanding, perhaps one feature for the past two years. So like that, we need to be very clear about the essence of new normal, leaving the rituals aside, leaving the practices aside. It gives us a huge challenge. I would call it the reality versus response. So what is the reality? I would call it VUCA 1.0, the reality, VUCA 1.0. We have often heard about it. We have seen this VUCA, what we saw in the textbooks, is coming to our doorstep It is there with us right now. So it's all about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We experience this day by day and night, and I can I can vouch you at least one or two calls every day from my friendly network about someone being COVID positive, and the panic that I see in them, and some consolation that they would require. So it's a really a challenging time. It's a volatile time, uncertain time, complex time, and ambiguous time. That is a reality. There's no doubt about it. So then what should be our response? I would call it VUCA 2.0. How would we respond? Vision, understanding, confidence, and agility. With the right vision, right understanding in grasping the ground reality, having confidence, having the self-belief and agility, being dynamic, that is what we need. So VUCA 1.0 should be responded with VUCA 2.0. Remember, this is the right time for us to demonstrate VUCA 2.0 in action. It is applicable to individuals and institutions alike. So SLETAD needs to have VUCA 2.0. Okay, so there are 7 disruptors in this VUCA reality with the planetary pandemic. So Deloitte Consulting very rightly identified them. So I have slightly modified them as 7 Ds. So I must confess that I'm a fan of this word twisting. So I twisted them to make them 7 Ds, 7 disruptors. So what is the first one? Emergence of, I'm sorry, I'm shifting the pictures here and there just to get the points correct. Demand for contingent workers. So the time has come for us to have not even part-time, the task-related work. There's a task, you pick someone to give that. And once the task is over, you say bye. Contingent workers are coming into the scene in a big way. No a guarantee of continuous employment, no guarantee of continuous relationship. You get the work done. That is the world trend that we see. Second disruptor, we see development of artificial intelligence. AI is all over. It's very smart in the way entering our lifestyles. AI is coming in a big, of course, it has a rather primitive beginning, but now it has come a long way. I still remember, I think I has been, in fact, I was sharing this in many other fora, where a friend of mine who was traveling in one of the private Indian airlines, I think a Spice Jet somewhere, where he got he had a complaint that his baggage didn't arrive. So he lodged a complaint through the AI enhanced customer care system. And he said, I flew from Delhi to Hyderabad, but my baggage went from Delhi to Ahmedabad. Excellent customer care. And the AI picked up the response and sent the reply, thank you very much for appreciating our excellent customer care. We are delighted to serve you. See, the AI has still to develop in getting the context into action, but it is coming in a big way. I hope it will improve further. And I always believe AI and EI should work in harmony. Emotional intelligence on one side, artificial intelligence on the other side, the mind and heart in action. Technology and treasured traditions should harmonize. Third disruptor is data tsunami. We are loaded with data. We talk about big data analysis. Sometimes we do analyzing, and we might end up having analysis paralysis. So data tsunami, huge overload of data. Take a simple example, your mobile phone. Now I am inundated with WhatsApp messages. I am grabbed into so many WhatsApp groups. So sometimes I realize I have not visited certain WhatsApp groups for weeks. So suddenly I realized, oh my God, there was a very important message I missed. So data tsunami, either video form or either document form, whatever the form. And number 4, distribution of technology. This is something positive. So the latest iPhone, latest Galaxy Tab, latest PC or latest laptop, it can be in New York, it can be New Delhi, it can be even in Negombo. So the distribution of technology around the world. So the democracy of technology being available and diversity over generations. This is a topic itself which demands hours of discussion. We talk about baby boomers, we talk about Gen X like me, then we talk about Gen Y or millennials, and now the latest is Gen Z or centennials. So the multi-generational workforce, how to communicate, how to collaborate, how to cooperate with one another, because they are different in their thinking, and how to harmonize. These are challenges, disrupt, and deliverance to automation, automated processes, automated systems, and how to deal with automation. And I think the most obvious thing is if you call someone in a leading corporate, you are answered by an automated system. And sometimes it's like if you want to talk to a human being, press one. If you want to have this boring machine, then press two, kind of thing. So that is the deliverance through automation and discontinuity of a lifelong learning. That is no more. It's a myth. Lifelong learning has got discontinued. So people have become job changers. I would not call them job hoppers, job changers. They change jobs. But at least you need to have 3 years to keep your mark, to establish yourself, to learn, to contribute, and then to leave some legacy. So these are 7 disruptors that influence our learning, influence our thinking, influence our way of responding to the world realities. So what should we do? So we need to bloom amidst a planetary pandemic, blooming amidst a gloomy pandemic, rather than being negative, in cursing everyone, in blaming everyone. Let's see how can we be positive. Every crisis has a danger side as well as opportunity side. So can we tap the opportunities associated with this gloomy pandemic, blooming in tapping those opportunities? And let me focus on 2 very important aspects, leading and learning. They are indispensable to each other. So said John F. Kennedy. It is told by him. So we need right leaders on one side, we need right learning on one side, and they are interconnected. A leader cannot survive without learning. Learning is meaningless without proper leading, proper guiding, proper sharing. So leaders have to become teachers in one way or the other. Learners have to be leaders in one way or the other. That's the strategic interconnection that we require in the world. And elaborating this further, education is the mother of leadership. So said, it was told by Wendell Willkie, American lawyer and corporate executive. Education is the mother of leadership. So learn and lead go hand in hand. So let's focus on a fundamental question. What is learning? So learning can be described in many ways, but the simplest way is it is acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes by way of experiencing, exploring, and many other ways. It's enhancement of K, S, and A, not Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So let me be simple as much as possible, because I believe in becoming a simplifier rather than complicating things. Okay, so then learning and education. What is education? Is the formal channel, formal means, formal process of learning. And then training. We are here because of Sri Lanka Institute of Training and Development. So then what is training? Training is a facilitation of learning. Training is a facilitation of learning. Learning happens within an individual or among individuals. So training facilitates that process. If it is formal, then it is education. If it is informal, then it is learning in many other fronts. Let's move on. Effort. I really like this effort. It has become a reality. So what is effort? Anytime, anywhere, any device. That is the new normal learning. Anytime, anywhere, any device. It can be your smartphone, it can be your laptop, it can be your iPad, it can be your Galaxy tab, it can be a television channel, it can be a social media, it can be an experience you're having with your friends. Anytime, anywhere, any device. Remember, this is the beautiful way of learning the promising prospects of the new normal, anytime, anywhere, any device. Gone are the days where there was a formal classroom. Gone are the days where there was formal training. Gone are the days where there was a formal scheduled learning sessions. True enough, they will continue. They will have their own place. But the opening of wide horizon is adequate. Anytime, anywhere, any device. Think about it. I was I was traveling once with a friend of mine in US, and say when we were having a break, he was a driver. He was taking a smartphone, and I saw he was learning something. He was learning Spanish using his smartphone during the free time when he get as a driver. See the way people learn anytime, anywhere, any device. So it starts with the right mindset, then the skill set to develop, and of course you have the right tool set, mindset, skill set, and tool set in action. Anytime, anywhere, any device. So the key learning trends that we see in the new normal, I would categorize them into three: individual learning, interactional learning, and innovative learning. There are plenty of ways people learn.
Professor, you are
Professor,
muted.
you are muted.
Professor, you are muted.
Sorry, I think by mistakenly I pressed the button. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. So in the new normal, there's plenty of opportunities to for individuals to learn, interactionally to learn, and using plenty of innovative tools and technique. Remember, anytime, anywhere, any device. Okay, moving ahead. So learning in the digital age. Now this is the way the digitalization comes into the scene in becoming handy, in becoming handy with regard to the way we learn. So digital techniques, digital tools would amply help us. So it is essentially high-tech, high-touch harmony that we require. High-tech, high-touch harmony. On one side, the advances of technology, the features of technology, the versatile tools of technology. On the other side, the feel factor, the heart factor, the soft factor coming into the scene. So both are required to have meaningful learning, the proper acquisition of right attitude, right knowledge, and right skills. So to begin with, so let me refer to one of my favorites, Albert Einstein. And he says something very profound. These things are old but gold. So what does he say? He says, if I have an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I would use the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. So you are left only with 5 minutes. So what is the point? The importance of designing. Sometimes we grossly neglect the designing part, the importance of designing before delivering. Sometimes we jump into delivering. This is one of my comments, or rather my critique about some naive trainers. They just jump into delivery. First, you need to design, then deliver. Design template takes a lot of conscious time, a lot of conscious effort. Don't undermine the value of it. So digital delivery, is it digital design and delivery, is it pain or pleasure? Pain or pleasure? Let's see. It requires a paradigm shift. I painfully went through this, I must confess, last year. So what is this paradigm shift? Paradigm is a mental framework. It's your approach to the world. It's how you look at the world through a particular lens. So we need to shift that paradigm. So what is that shift that we require? A sage on the stage to guide on the side. So who is a sage on the stage? In fact, I I mean, there's nothing to hide. I'm from PIM. Please mute yourself. I hear some disturbances. Please mute yourself. Otherwise, it will affect the recording. Please. So I remember at PIM, the faculty is famous for being sages on the stages, being authority on their subjects. And we were enjoying in front of an audience and interacting with them, showing the theatrical performance. But now we don't have that luxury because it's all online. So we have to become guide on the side, no more sage on the stage. So from that mindset, we need to shift to be a guide on the side. We have a narrow frame, the computer screen, and through which we need to interact, through which we need to get the engagement right, through which we need to ensure the effectiveness. It's a huge challenge. Sometimes you ask from yourself, am I satisfied enough in what I do? I had this fundamental question in my mind when I started delivering online sessions. Is it as enjoyable as physically being with people? Sometimes the answer is no, a sad no. But then we have to face the reality. It's adjusting, adapting, accommodating the new reality, isn't it? We need to shift from sage on the stage to guide on the side. In that context, we need to look at, please mute yourself. I still hear some disturbances. Come on, this for the benefit of the institute, they will make the record and the record will get disturbed. Please. Okay, so triple aspects. So what are the triple aspects with regard to design and delivery? So it goes back to fundamentals of communication: context, contents, and conduct. So what are the ingredients? There is the contents and the basically the environment, the target audience, and people who are involved. There is the context and the delivery, the effective way of lecturing or doing the needful. There is a conduct. Each C is challenged in a digital medium, in an online platform, in the new normal where we don't have the luxury of physical interaction. It is more through technology. It's more through a different channel. So how to be conscious about the context, how to modify the contents, how to deliver, how to conduct yourself differently. If you are not paying enough attention to this, what happened before is what happened before will happen again. Remember what happened before, which should have been avoided by paying attention to triple C's. Same triple C's are much of importance to prevent this happening. It's very easy to get tempted to do multitasking or to relaxing or perhaps to dreaming, not the desired end dream, but the daydream. So you need to have a right attention, right focus, triple C's: context, contents, and conduct. That is where the Mackenzie's 7S framework becomes very handy. And by the way, all what I am sharing, I have included in that very first article in your inaugural journal issue. So you can download that article from SLEETAT website and read my article. So I have elaborated some of these things with more explanation. So we know shared values in the center, strategy, structure, system, styles, staff, and skills. So we need to raise some fundamental questions to ascertain whether we are ready for digital design and delivery, which is an essential requirement of the new normal. So let me raise some questions adapting from Mackenzie's 7S framework. Strategy. Is there a clear game plan? Or are you doing it just as a fad, as a fancy thing? There has to be a clear game plan. Why online learning? Why? For us, it's a survival game. There's no other choice. What specific objectives to be achieved? So objectives have to be very clear. How the online learning is conducted and in line with the plans of the host institution. How it is connected to the long-term plans. So that is strategy aspect. Then comes the structural aspects. Is there an assigned team with clear responsibilities? You can't have jack of all trades and masters of none. Is there a flexible decision making where smooth function of learning facilitation, adjusting, course correction, moving from Zoom to Microsoft Teams? Sometimes there are advantages of Zoom, advantages of Teams. So sometimes you interchangeably use, you have a combination of Microsoft Teams and Zoom, both are being used. Is there a satisfied level of presence of technology, infrastructure, the required bandwidth, required wherewithal with regard to hardware, software, liveware? They all come under structure. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, for the fun of doing it, for the heck of doing it. No, there has to be a structural approach. Then comes systems. Is there a robust learning management system, LMS? I would strongly advocate embed the online learning component into existing LMS. For example, at PIM, we have Prajna Learning Portal. Prajna is the Sanskrit name meaning wisdom. So there we have embedded Zoom, and where each session is available as a recording after the session. So there has to be a comprehensive learning management system and online learning assessment, adequate support by other systems. So you need to have the right interconnection with HR systems, administrative systems, academic systems with online assessment. Are there adequate controls, checks and balances? Otherwise, there will be always abusing, misusing, and grossly malpracticing happening. So human tendencies are always to find shortcuts. So your system should be robust with right checks and balances. And then we talk about shared values. Are there clearly defined set of core values that support initiatives? So your value-based approach, values such as transparency, values such as professionalism, values such as performance orientation matter a lot. Are there key behaviors stemming from the values to support the commitment required? So some behavioral aspect, as we are aware, values are internal, they are demonstrated through your behaviors. So what are the behaviors that you require? Say promptness, as I mentioned, agility, confidence, commitment, they are all required to ensure your new learning properly taking place. Are there reviews that take place to assess and demonstrating the core values? Periodic reviews will be very, very handy. And then style. How participative is the overall management leadership style of the institute? That helps as an encouraging style or engaging style instead of an escaping style. How adaptable the organization, particularly the resource personnel embracing new technology. There I see a clear generational gap. Sometimes the new generation is very easily adapting, whereas some older generations will find it very uncomfortable in moving beyond their comfort zones. So this is a challenge, how to adapt, and it's a survival of the fittest. We should not be dinosaurs, but to be dynamic creatures. Dinosaurs extinct because they could not survive, they couldn't adapt, whereas dynamic creatures, they could distinct themselves, not extinct, but distinct. That is what we need. Is there an engaging and encouraging style to online learners being demonstrated? Do you encourage online learners? Do you support them? You assist them? You guide them? Like a guide on the side, the new paradigm required. Don't put them into the deep end, allowing them to sink or swim. The other day, I spoke to the very first batch of Human Resource Development degree program in Sri Lanka, offered by Vellasa University. And I suggested to them to talk to SLETAD and to have some working relationship, because the very first batch of HRD graduates would be passing out in 4 years' time. There are HRM courses being offered in almost all universities, but HRD is coming into the focus for the very first time. That's a very significant development. Staff, are there required number of qualified academics, or the required trainers, required professionals, required resource personnel, the support service people, the backbone, the support, the hosts and so on, collaborative effort being made? no individualizing, no fragmenting. They all have to work with one goal as a one team. Skills. This is one challenge. Skills are need to be, they require to be upgraded, updated. They have to be up to date all the time and process to strengthen the skills. When a new technology is emerging, is there a process to get your key people trained, get the exposure to your key people? Is there a mechanism to develop the skills of learning facilitators? Remember, they need to be always up to date. Otherwise, if they become stale, I always take the metaphor. Are you sharing water from a stale pond or a flowing fountain? If you are not updated, if you are not up to date, if you are not upgraded, you are just a stale pond. If you are always upgrading yourself, you are like a refreshing fountain. You give water from a flowing fountain, always the water is fresh. Same with knowledge, same with skills and future of education. Summing up all those things, we see a huge challenge in Sri Lanka, particularly our school-going kids. They did not have the opportunity to interact with their fellow students for almost 1.5 years. And I hope this might not be the future. The syllabus this year has the following apps. You download the apps and use the apps in playing games. Gamification, a fun way of learning. These are the new trends, even though it might not be perfect, but they might be part of a vital, larger solution. Okay, so future competencies you need to be conscious about. So what are the future competencies that we need to always remind? I would call them A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D, E. I had been telling this in many a fora. So A stands for analytical skills. You need to have analytical rigor. And B stands for business savviness. There's no point someone learning in isolation. You need to learn in the right context. It can be business with regard to private sector. It can be again the state of affairs with regard to the corporate, with regard to the government sector, the business savviness. C stands for creativity. You need to be creative. Imagination is the starting point. So you imagine to innovate, being creative, not the old haggard way of doing things, refreshing the new way, creativity. I think Elon Musk of Tesla fame, of SpaceX fame, criticizes the MBAs, saying they are overly analytical and they lack creativity. It's a real eye-opener for people like us who design and deliver MBAs. We need to ensure not only analytical rigor, but creativity also, hard and soft aspects in harmony. And D is essential, digital diligence. Digital diligence. You need to be digitally smart, having a digital device, having more than one digital device, digital diligence. And E is, of course, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Looking at the society, it includes the way you look at the planet, the planetary focus, eco-friendliness, not just selfishly doing things for the sake of you. It is not just profit, but the people and planet. Emotional intelligence. So analytical skills, business savviness, creativity, digital diligence, and emotional intelligence. We need to embed this to our future generations. We need to embed this in our corporate training as a facilitation of learning. A, B, C, D, E. As we said in the kindergarten, you can say, now I know my A, B, C, D, E for future. And in doing this, we need to have a framework. So I would recommend 5E framework. So what are those 5 E's? Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and the 5th one is evaluate. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So let me take an example from one author, IB and others, who really demonstrated this in educational institutions. And I would not go into deeper details. They say 5E phase, component, sample teaching and learning activities, and the mode. In the mode, we have 2 categories, synchronous and Asynchronous. Asynchronous means pre-planned, pre-recorded, not online, real time. Synchronous means real time, online, lively engaging with the participants like what we do now. Say when Sleeted get the recording and put it up in the upload into the website, and whoever downloads that and watches this video later, they engage in asynchronous activity. So this is the synchronous. So you have engage pre-class, explore pre-class, explain pre-class, elaborate in class, evaluate in class. See how you meaningfully engage 5 E's. Deploy 5 E's. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. And we need to do this in 4 ways, 4 options. So what are the 4 smart options available thanks to emerging technology? 4 formats, 4 options, 4 choices. First one is blended. I must happy to tell you that we have been doing this for the past 10 years through our Master of Public Administration program. We offered it to Jaffna, Trincomalee, Vaunia, in addition to Colombo. So when I was standing in front of a crowd in Colombo PIM building, I was simultaneously addressing people in Jaffna, people in Vaunia, people in Trinco, blended. Second one is flipped. That one is dual delivery. Fourth one is high flex. High flex. So blended means what? Physical sessions combined with asynchronous online sessions. Pre-recording, pre-videos, pre-cases, flipped. Prior reading and videos is synchronous engagement discussions. This famous Harvard method. You give the reading before, you upload the videos before, and you engage in discussion. You have to come prepared for that. Dual delivery, which is becoming popular, both physically present and virtually connected. We started this at PIM last year, where I had a sample of my batch in front of me, say 25 out of 100, the remaining 75 got virtually connected, dual delivery. I can see some in front of me physically, some in the virtual screen, their faces or their names. High flex, more flexibility for learners to select in-person or virtual, synchronous or asynchronous. That is the most democratic. You give the choice to students. Are you willing to join at a particular time and engage in a synchronous session, or are you willing to do a synchronous session later? You give high flexibility. So these are the 4 formats I got from my friend at Oklahoma University, Professor Mowant shared this with me. So he said, blended, flipped, dual delivery, and high flex. In my experience, we do all these, but dual delivery is gathering momentum. For example, a dual delivery session at PIM we did last year. You can see the sample of learning partners. That's the term I use, not students. Some of them are even elder to me, learning partners, whereas some have got connected through the virtual mode. So this is where the disruption is needed. Rethinking, fresh thinking for 3 things. So let me challenge you. Upskilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling. You have to upskill yourself with the new technology. You have to reskill when there's an absence of a skill. For example, I had to reskill myself with regard to the use of Zoom. I was totally new to Zoom. So I've got familiar with Zoom. I was totally new to Microsoft Teams, reskilling. And cross-skilling, soft aspects, hard aspects, analytical stuff, creative stuff, and so on and so forth. So upskilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling, all 3 are required. So we got to be brilliant on basics. In summing up, in finishing the whole thing, don't forget the old wisdom. So let me remind you of 3 people you need to revisit in the new normal. One is, of course, Professor Benjamin Bloom from Chicago University, who came with Bloom's taxonomy. So it was revived in early 2000, where we talk about starting with a very basic remembering, ending with the pinnacle evaluating in the new normal, how it will be relevant. And of course, lesser heard person, Edgar Daves, cone of experience. So you have a cone, the reverse of Bloom's pyramid, where the base is when you experience, your retention is high. You remember and you retain very little. You enjoy, you engage, you learn more. So read Edgar Dave's Cone of Experience. These are all available in Google. So why fear when Google is there, isn't it? And of course, do not forget Professor Howard Gardner, who came with multiple intelligences: word smart, picture smart, physical, body smart, and so on and so forth. The smartnesses have a new relevance in the new normal. So Bloom's taxonomy, cone of experience, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, and of course plenty of others, like we have David Kolb, who came with the learning cycle, Kolb's learning cycle, and of course Peter Senge, who talked about learning organization. So many others. So revisit them in the context of new normal. I will not try to cover what they have mentioned, just to entice you to engage in visiting them. Read about Bloom, Dave, Gardner, and of course Kolb, Senge, and many others. So let me finishing by referring to my favorite author on learning, Peter Senge. Peter Senge says, through learning, we recreate ourselves. That's why we believe in lifelong learning. Divitura, Divipura, Igenu. Lifelong learning. We learn from womb to the tomb. Every moment is an opportunity to learn. Through learning, we become able to do something we were never able to do. Through learning, we extend our capacity to create, to be part of the generative process of life. That's why I say learning, leading, and perhaps living are inseparable. The moment you stop learning, you stop fertile living, futile living begins. Keep that in mind. So I hope you can still remember 3 idiots. Don't look at one another. Don't look at the top government as well. So I'm referring to this brilliant movie filmed in Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it so many times because I want to be very critical about Professor Virus. That should not be the way that we should do things. It's a self-criticism for us to move beyond traditional ways to embrace new opportunities. I hope this is not your mindset right now, but if you have questions, as you had been already informed, send them through the chat option and someone would direct them to me. So let me wind up by inviting you to reflect, refresh, and to relate all what we have been sharing in answering the 3 questions. Learning in the new normal, promising prospects. So let me wish you good luck, all the 50 plus participants. It's a very encouraging sign on a busy Friday evening to have 50 plus. So the journey continues from good to great. Every day, every moment, learning together. So may I wish you good luck from the bottom of my heart. You can visit my website, www.ajantadharmasiri.info. You get plenty of videos, plenty of articles, and many other interesting sources. So enjoy that meaningful learning journey. Stay safe, sound, and serene. Good luck, bon voyage, happy journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri, for your highly valuable, highly rich, highly inspiring insights on continuing professional development despite the global pandemic. And especially being HRD professionals, we have to enrich our people how to be blooming amidst normal pandemic. So, Professor, thank you very much again. And I request the audience to raise the questions in the chat box. So far, there is no questions, but even you can type now and raise your questions.
There are lots of thank yous coming. I also thank you for your wonderful participation. Good. Tulani, should I directly read from the chat box and answer, or you would prompt them to me? What could be the best way?
Yeah, either way is okay, Professor.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it seems that the audience
Yes, there's a question. There's a question, Tulani, from my good friend Manoj. Thank you, Manoj. Please elaborate more on Bloom and new normal. Good, good. As I mentioned, I would expect you to reflect more by revisiting Bloom. Bloom's taxonomy starts with the base, which is more remembering, and the pinnacle is creating, which is more application of knowledge from a very fundamental, we call it the lower end to a higher end levels of learning. In the new normal, Manoj, I can see three things affecting Bloom. One is the appreciation of the changing environment, where that is a key requirement for you need to apply, because you have to apply in a changing setting. The VUCA 2.2 response is the Bloom's pinnacle response that we need. So read more on Bloom. I will not elaborate more on the different layers of Bloom's taxonomy. Then I would spoil your interest in reflectful reading. So revisit Bloom. And then there's a term called metacognitive terms. I know you and me can discuss this in our PhD class, but this is a general audience. So there's a thing called metacognitive needs, where you go beyond your cognition, looking at more spiritual, more non-material things, something that is deeply engrossing. And if you want more deeper details, there are things called pedagogy, which is the which is more teacher-centered learning, and then the andragogy, which is more the adult-centered learning. The learner-centered, and the latest is heutagogy, whereas you deeply immerse in learning like a doctoral candidate. So Manoj, I think as a doctoral candidate, you need to read this, and you need to refresh yourself more. Okay. Looks like there's another question. How can we retain employees in this new normal situation and reduce the retention level? This is, I think, going beyond learning, but how can we retain employees? It's more of a general HR issue. My simple suggestion is engaging them. So employee engagement is a surefire way of retaining people. How to engage your people meaningfully, engage them physically, mentally, emotionally, particularly emotional engagement. Now, for argument's sake, you don't leave your family, isn't it? There's no other place like your family. So you are bonded to your family. You're bound to your family. If you can have a family-like atmosphere, like what Richard Branson advocated, like what Vinith Nair did in HCL Technologies. I know many people create that family-like atmosphere where people are emotionally engaged with the organization. So just for the sake of additional 10,000 rupees, so additional perks, they will not leave because they embrace the values and there's a value harmony. It might be the case, it might not be the case, but I would say in the new normal, engaging people more meaningfully and learning can be one ingredient in the total solution. That is how we learn together. Tulini, any other questions? You're mute.
Sorry. Yes, so there is a question. Online learning. Why Sri Lankan students in many programs are silent and do not get involved? They are mostly passive listeners and not active participants.
Okay. Chulani, let me be ruthlessly honest with you. I blame the teachers. I'm a teacher. It's a self-criticism. Because the problem is we have not gone through that paradigm shift. Now, if I come and become a sage on the stage and keep on delivering, people get distracted. People get disengaged. They do many other things. There has to be a mechanism to get them engaged, get them involved. I have seen in some foreign sessions, they mention the name. Say, for example, Chulani, are you here? Can you answer this question? What do you think? And you can't just switch on the computer and do many other things while your screen is shut off. So you have to be on the spot, engaged, because next question will be to you and you have to be on the pins. That is up to the learning facilitator. Create an interesting game. So the gamification, you do a survey and you impromptu present the results of the survey. You give a question and you give the multiple choice questions as part. So you have to creatively design. That's what I said. You have to spend more time in the design board level rather than delivery level. The mistake we do is that we just switch the mode and do the same thing, which is not going to work. I also have done that mistake, honestly. But now I learn more and more. The context is different. We need to adjust to the new context. Otherwise, it becomes utterly ineffective. If you try to be a sage on the stage on the virtual platform, disaster. Disaster. Okay. Any other questions, students?
There is another question, Professor. Train shop floor level, operational level employees is quite challenging than other employees during this pandemic. How can we manage it?
Well, that's a good observation. That's a good observation. But still, take Japan, the way they implement 5S, say kids, Shitsuke, the discipline part, Shikshane, because there are ways, in fact, shorter deliveries, more audio visuals, say showing a video, and of course, true enough, the attention span and the level of comprehensiveness, you need to address those. Say using some available songs, dramas, movies, and more discussion orientation, more engaging them around a particular brief story. So you have to be creative. I think it's difficult, but not impossible. You have to design in a more creative manner. Now, I am given a toughest choice, perhaps one of the toughest assignments next Friday. I have to address the Hampasala students of Dubai, 6 to 10 years of age. So I have to completely change my design. I can't tell any of those things to the kids of 6 to 10 years of age in English medium. They are studying in English medium in Dubai. So completely different game plan, different design. You have to think a lot how to engage them. You have to appeal to their mindset. Same with the factory workers. You have to appeal to their mindset. Think empathically with them. So lots of design aspects are there, but still possible.
It seems there are no questions in the chat box. So, Professor, thank you very much again for highly insightful inputs for us, giving us in this evening.